right, slating it. Action. Yeah, my name is Davon, and I grew up here in Northeast Denver. Family moved to Park Hill probably 1970s, or probably when I was 5 or 6. And I've been at this present location since, and this is my home, and since 2008. And member of the Hills Church since the very first day they had services. Growing up, Park Hill was great. Even when we moved up to Park Hill, my mom still kept us in school on the other side of Colorado Boulevard. I went to Columbine Elementary, and being so old, it was in the old buildings. They really don't have a lot of them old schools no more. So I went to the old Columbine, but eventually after a certain age, we moved into the newer building. So then she finally said, you guys are going to have to start going to school up here in Park Hill, and went to Hallett Elementary. And then they started the busing in the 70s, and instead of going to a junior high school right here in Park Hill, they went on the south side of town, which is all good. Still was trying to get a free education, and we're kind of fortunate as Americans to be able to go to school for free, because a lot of countries, the kids have to pay. The parents have to try to get up money to send their kids to school, and that's just grammar school, which I don't see that as fair. But thank God we are here in America. So Park Hill is good. Park Hill has changed over the years, but it's just like the rest of the country. It's changing. With the neighborhoods, with gentrification, and people moving in and different ethnic backgrounds and stuff. But it's not a problem. I think people just need to be more friendly with each other, and have a respect factor, which should play into everything. Oh yeah, of course. I'm not 14 or 16 to have experience, but yeah, of course. Nothing that was totally that probably need to make the papers or anything like that, but some stuff was kind of like, subtle, and some, nothing brutal. I have been called the N-word twice. That's something that I haven't forgot. The first time I was a volunteer at Channel 12, and this was so many years ago. Channel 12 was just kind of coming into existence, and this was at the old warehouse in Broomfield where Channel 12 was located. So when it first happened, it was like slow motion, and then it's kind of like bing. It's like, wait a minute, did that just happen? And so things got calmed down real quickly before 911 was called. But yeah, I have, and I've been lucky. You read stuff in the papers even on a daily basis now, and it's just throughout history where nothing. I didn't have, was injured, or, my feelings hurt, but I have a thick skin, and you have to have thick skin in order to work in the film industry and stuff, It's just, that's just who I am, so I'm fortunate for that. Well, my films, I always loved filmmaking, and I'm a big fan of actually foreign films. My first film was on a short documentary on Paul Stewart in the Black American Museum. And Paul was really great to work with. I miss him. He was very nice to me, and he always asked me about my 2 kids. I have a grown daughter and a young son, and members of the church know who my son is, Zaire. It was a short documentary which aired on Channel 12, and actually aired on Channel 12 twice, and it showed all over the world, and I won a gold medal for that documentary in Belgium, and actually got to go to Brussels to show that film, and people really loved it, because I think it was just that thing of, cowboys, Western, but, having black cowboys as the subject, and black pioneers. So that was my first film, and the second one was on the Human Experience Bookstore, which is no longer open, and actually won a Best Documentary in Oakland, California for the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame. And it was, real nice going out to Oakland, and, all the other filmmakers are from the big cities, and here Davon comes from Denver, and and winning this top prize in this festival. So filmmaking is art to me. It's you really have to take your time and pick your subject. So my first three documentaries, my first three films were documentaries, and the third one was on the Project 75 on some of the early black doctors here. They existed in Colorado. None of them are with us anymore, but they lived good long lives and was very important in the community, especially Dr. Gibson. People loved him. He actually went to my church. I grew up in New Hope Baptist, and they didn't even want to see Dr. Gibson retire. Dr. Gibson trained under Dr. Charles Drew, and he was a pioneer with the blood plasma. And Dr. Drew was responsible, if people don't know this, responsible for training probably way over half of the black surgeons in this country, which, that was a long time ago, and I'm sure a lot of them doctors are not alive. But it was very good working with these doctors, hearing the stories, especially under Dr. Hawkins. Because when Dr. Hawkins was practicing medicine, he had office in Five Points, and most of his patients were white or other ethnic groups, because that's just, that's the neighborhood he was practicing in, and people came to where that doctor was practicing in. And he actually knew Dr. Justina Ford, and Dr. Ford was the first black woman doctor in the state of Colorado, and only 8 places she was able to practice was she finally later in her life got her license to practice out of Denver General, but mainly she went to people's homes, and a lot of these ethnic groups wanted a woman, especially delivering babies, and she spoke several languages and was responsible, they say, delivering over 7,000 babies. So the museum is actually, the Black American Museum is actually located in Dr. Ford's house. The 1963 March on Washington, D.C., I always loved that subject. When them people came to, all them people came, over 200,000 people came together to hear one of the most memorable speeches in U.S. history and just world history in general. With all them people coming together, they just swore up and down that it was going to be a violent protest, but no, it was a peaceful protest, and you had people from all walks of life. And I wanted to do something, and fortunately I have a really good crew, and they wanted to come out, and my crew worked for me for free. I shouldn't say that, but but I have a good relationship for them, and they know me, and they know my films are going to get seen. So this is actually from the first film, the March on Washington, D.C., and my artist friend Irvin Watts actually slow motion and wrote this out, and you see this in the film at the beginning of the film, and you hear under it why Irvin is writing that out, "We shall overcome." And it's actually a jazz piece on the 1963 peaceful protests. You hear, I love John Coltrane's Alabama, and actually John Coltrane's just masterpiece on that jazz tune, Alabama. He felt so heartbroken. He actually did this piece on the 4 little girls that was killed in the church bombing in Alabama. And if you need to just go to YouTube and just Google John Coltrane's Alabama and listen to that, and you could almost say God itself wrote this song, did the music for this song. It's you just close your eyes and just listen to that, John Coltrane, Alabama. And so I did that, and I wanted to actually end up doing a trilogy on the 1963 peaceful protests, and this is the other artwork that I had Irving do, and I've been working with Irving since my very first project, and it's actually chalk. And you can see the title, the March for Freedom, 1963. And there's the people, the Lincoln Memorial, and there's Dr. King at the very top. And that was my second piece, and so happened this film itself has been in over 15 film festivals and won about three awards. Getting your film in film festivals is difficult. A lot of people don't know the competition is just crazy, and I'm sure a lot of favoritism plays into it. But getting your film in a festival and let alone win an award says a lot about the director, the script, the production value of your film. So I've been very fortunate that a lot of my work has been in film festivals all over the world. And this actually won top prize in a festival in Italy. And I supposed to have been going over there, but for some reason, communication got mixed up. I've been a lot of places in Europe, but I never have been to Italy yet, so I didn't get to travel over there. But maybe with the new project I did on R.R. Aldrich, the first black man to do Shakespeare's Othello. R.R. was born in the time of slavery in 1807 in New York. And fortunate for Ira, he was born in New York, so he was able to get an education. And but Ira was highly intelligent. And if you Google R.R. Aldrich and look, he was doing several Shakespearean plays a day, from Othello, The Merchant of Venice, King Lear, on and on. I mean, how do you remember all that dialogue? And remember, this is like in the early 1800s when he left the United States when he was 17 and never did return. This is the early 1800s where the lighting was candles. They didn't have these big giant lights in these fancy theaters. So me doing that project was one of the greatest experiences. Probably one of the longest documentaries of for my company that I worked on, over 2 years, and just the research and get the pictures and putting this piece together. And so I'm just now able to start promoting it because of the pandemic slowed a lot of things down. But I have very high hopes for this project that will finally open up some doors for me and my cast and crew. Basically, a lot of my stuff is on YouTube, from the suspense thrillers, murder.com, Country Music's in My Blood. That was the first film that I had on Channel 6. That's a country western narrative / documentary on Rudy Grant, which Rudy is basically Denver's own Charlie Pride. The March on Washington D.C. is on YouTube. A few other films, Peace to You, which is a piece about two people coming together. This gentleman's in 5 points playing an African instrument. Then you got this bagpiper coming up, walking up to him with a kilt. My good friend Doug, and he just says peace, and the other gentleman says peace to you, and just a musical piece of these two gentlemen playing music, and harmonizing together. Well, my faith plays in everything, my whole walk of life, every day. I got saved 11 years ago, and I meet a lot of young people who've been saved since they was in, 15, 16, and it really touches me, and I wish that could have been my walk. But God comes when it's, at a certain appropriate times in people's lives. So my faith is very important in all my films, because every film at the end of the credits, I always say, thank the Lord for letting me finish this very important project, because a lot of people should know it doesn't, making a film, especially an award-winning film, or just in general, you have to depend on people, especially if you're doing narratives. You got the cast, and you want them to know their dialogue. You want them to show up to rehearsals. You want them to be professional. You got your crew. You want them to be there on time with the equipment and be ready to go, even if you have to go 12 hours or multiple days. Locking down locations. So me personally, I'm praying on all this from the word go. So God is at the center of my work, and there's other projects I would love to do. Been dreaming on that centers around God, from biblical figures, from people who found out about their faith and been lied to about certain things, and how they redirect it till everything is, this is the truth. God, His word is true. I heard Pastor say a few weeks ago about the Bible. Yeah, the Bible is not a fable. It's real. It's not made up. This is the real deal, and people should think. You think these people was at that time, before Christ, or before Christ, even after Christ, they were sitting around in the desert and they had nothing to do. And we say, we know what? Let's make these books. Let's make up these stories. No, it's the real deal. And I encourage everybody, read the Bible daily, like myself. And well, I would also say, like to mention with the young people, pick your battles, read the Bible, ask for wisdom. And if you're fortunate enough to have aunts and uncles and grandmothers, when they're talking to you, listen to them, because they care about you and they're telling you right from wrong. And I just pick your battles and just be wise. Stay away from conflict, stay away from people who you would know that what they're doing and encouraging you to do is not right. The pen is always going to be mightier than the sword, and you would be wise to follow that advice. I mean, who am I to give advice? But I'm just telling you right from wrong. The pen is mightier than the sword, and we all should have respect and love for one another. We're living in some very difficult times, and we just need to really think before we react. Closing remarks, I would definitely like to say that I'm happy that the Hills Church is here in Park Hill, Northeast Denver, and they're doing really great things, and I know the future is going to be bright for the Hill Church. The members are nice. Got to know the pastor and his family, Jeff and his family, and other members of the church. Just some of the things they're trying to do. They're really doing good Christian things from the heart, and it's been a very comfort for me to know them, get to know them, and be a member. I've been there since day one, and short story, a lot of people don't know, day one over at the Dahlia Center, they lost power. So we had service in the dark, and only light was coming in was from the windows and the door from the gymnasium, and so that was interesting. But it's all uphill for the Hill Church, and I encourage people to log in to the online services, and one day this pandemic's going to be over, where we all going to be able to come back together. So I know it's going to be just a great time when we all come back together again. Even if it's micro church, but one day we'll be able to have back to the regular good old days of the regular services.